Applying Cultural and Comparative Approaches by Caitlin Sinclair. Well, you're probably asking, what is a cultural approach? It is looking at what values and beliefs are held deeply within a culture that produced the myth. Values, I believe, that held to the highest standard in the works that we read from Histoids' Work and Days, Genesis 1 through 3, and Emu Elish was loyalty, truthfulness, and power. You're probably asking, who's that dude with the sick beard? That's Histoid. He believed in the development of generation from Titan into gods. And in that believement, he had 5 stages until he thought that they were perfect. And, well, they weren't stages, they were ages. It was the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, Age of the Heroes, and the Iron Age. The next one to look at is the comparative approach. What is the comparative approach? The comparative approach is documenting trends of similarity and of differences across myths in order to observe trends and draw inferences from them. 2 of the myths that I looked at was Emu Elish and the Book of Genesis. So with this, we're going to look at how are these 2 similar and different? One of the questions that has really come about was who created humans? And this is where these 2 myths get set apart very differently. Marduk, that guy that we see in the picture over there, he was requested of Igigi to create those humans. And then God himself from Genesis decided he was going to create humans. Nobody told him what to do. He decided to do it on his own. And then another thing that sets them apart is in Tablet 1, Line 1, when the heavens above did not exist, is how it started out. But we know in Genesis, the heavens were first and the earth was the last thing that was created because it took God 7 days to do. So those are some of their differences, but what's the similarities that they have? One thing that they found in common was that they get straight to the point. They don't beat around the bush. If it's not relevant, they don't care. They are all about the big picture ideas. They did not want to directly tell people why they created things or what to do with the things that they provided. This is seen in Genesis when God doesn't just openly create fish, but things that swims, because that can lead to things evolving or just up to the creativity. And then Marduk created the city of Babylon for them to build a temple and to worship himself. He didn't say, I'm building this temple for you to worship me. He wanted them to worship him for building that city. So what's the big deal? Why is it important to look at myths under these 2 lenses? From a cultural approach, you get a deeper understanding of the culture and what they hold valuable. From there we can see it's okay, this culture really holds being honest and truthful and loyal to people, while others might believe in hardworking, doing what's best. You get to kind of see the different perspectives. And in the comparative approach lens, there's more than one way to do things. Some cultures tell a story differently, but in the end, they are saying the exact same thing. We don't tell you how to plant an apple tree because some might plant it one way, some might plant it another way. But in the end, the result is you still get an apple and it's done differently, and that's okay. Modern narratives from a cultural approach. In modern films and books, the reader and viewer can see what that culture holds of value. In American culture, I personally believe that we hold the value of pride, hard work, and not giving up. The example I came up with was Good Will Hunting. The movie starts out seeing a young man who is hard at work trying to barely make him by, and he's seen doing math problems on a board at MIT. Well, from doing those math problems that were so complicated, he was able to get a better paying job and get the help that he needed to be successful. He ended up seeing therapy, which is really hard in itself to do, but with seeing his therapist, he was able to overcome struggles and to work hard and to not give up. And I think that is something very powerful that can be seen across the board in America. A modern narrative from a comparative approach. One of the things, like when you look at films and books nowadays, it is easy to find things to compare them to myths. For example, I compared Hercules and Harry Potter. They both were nothing, zeros, both adopted, didn't have their family around to raise them, and at a young age, they had to start overcoming struggles. Something kind of funny, and side note, they both ended up defeating a three-headed beast. Might be something a little similar there. But in the end, they overcame all the struggles and adversity that they did to be heroes of their own. While Hercules saved his city, Harry Potter saved the wizarding world. So, two different things, but they had a lot of similarities. Does these approaches add value? I think these approaches do add value. By understanding these two approaches, one can read or watch a film and connect the dots to other films and narratives, like how we were able to do with Hercules and Harry Potter. You also learn that every culture holds different values and beliefs differently. There are two approaches when it comes to mythology: cultural and comparative. They each can teach a lesson to the reader, and not every culture does or says things the same way. These two allow the reader to break down difficult reading into something more digestible. Next slide is works cited along with image credits.